We have gathered all the ingredients today to show you how to make an awesome vegan raw pumpkin tart, and it's fabulous, and this is how it's done. So get the recipe, like us down below, get the links, all that stuff down below. So on with what we're doing here at the kitchen of Slow Foods. We are sharing our favorite pumpkin tart. So we're going to start with a crust. So we've taken some almonds, we put them in the blender, and we just ground them up ourselves as fine as we could get it to make a rough flour. And then we are going to add 2 tablespoons and a big pinch of salt, 2 tablespoons of maple sugar. And we like to use Bascom's Family Farms. Find them online. Might even find a link below for that. So we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of maple sugar, big pinch of salt, 1/4 cup of our favorite Nutiva coconut manna. Yum. Coconut manna, which is everything in the coconut ground up into a paste, basically. That's what that is. But Nutiva is awesome. Awesome brand. Find them online. And then we are going to take 1 medjool date. I always use medjool dates because they're big and juicy and plump, and when you want a candy bar, it works. Takes the place of them candy bars. Take the seed out, throw the seed away. Then all we're going to do is process it in the processor until it's mixed well. I'm going to pulse it a little bit to get the feel of it, make sure it's working. Turn it on. And we're going to make sure that the date is fully chopped up and mixed into all the flour. And when it's ready, we're going to put it into this pan, which is just your standard square baking pan. You can use a round one if you like. It really doesn't matter. I like the square ones because when I cut it, the way I cut it, they all come out in pretty little triangles. And I line the pan with, this is a type of wax paper. It's not really wax paper, but anything will do, like wax paper, that will be strong enough to pull out. So we're just going to line the pan. I already pre-cut this to fit the pan, so it just fits neatly in the bottom. A little bit of overhang, so after we chill the tart for 2 hours, we just lift it right out of the pan and we'll cut it with a warm knife. That's later. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. So now that that's there, this should be done. Off. Unlock. Yep, looks wonderful. So we will take all of this, pour it into the pie pan. Remember this, we're not going to cook this at all. We're just going to chill it. We're going to freeze it and then slice it. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, buckwheat. So, evenly spread the filling in the pan. You can use, to push it down, you know, you can just use anything that's handy, like the back of a spoon. You could take your spatula like this and start putting some pressure on it to get it all evenly. But our favorite little tool to do this with is a little roller. So I'm just going to roll. First I'm going to start out gently, and then as I get it in place, I'm just going to put some more pressure on it until I can really get it as pressed as much as it will press. You want it nice and pressed. So that's what we're doing. So pressing it really nicely. One thing about this roller is you can't get all the way up into the corners, so I do still take a back of a spoon and just get the edges and get those pressed down also, so that when you slice the pieces, you got a real nice sharp line where the crust is. Mix makes it look more prettier. All about the presentation. Presentation is a large part of fooding, being a foodie. Okay, so I'm just kind of getting the feel of this. With a spoon, I can actually feel it better that it is all even. I'm gonna give it a few more rolls here. And then we're gonna put this in the refrigerator to cool while we make the filling. And why do we eat raw foods? Well, I'll tell you. Never walk away from the camera with a wired microphone. Oh, let's go this way. Gonna have to get myself a longer camera or a longer wire or cordless. I'm gonna have to get me a cordless one. I'm just too much. All right. So to make the filling, now I was just getting ready to tell you about why we're so excited about raw foods, because raw food is what feeds the deepest molecular cells in your body. You got to have raw food to feed the body. If you cooked food just doesn't feed the body, the nutrients aren't there like it is in a raw food. But cooked food is good, so keep eating your cooked food, but eat more raw foods and get well. So I have today this old Acme juicer. It's old, it's about 40 years old. I thought I'd share it with you today because it works great. How it works, let's get the processor out of the way. So how this juicer works is it has the basket that spins on the inside. It's got a plate that grinds, but inside the basket is lined with this nice thin piece of paper so that after we make the juice, and it spins it so it does it actually does. This is the best juicer I've ever used because it spins so hard on the pulp that it gets all the juice out. So we're going to put the lid on. Now there should be a plunger. We're all familiar with the plungers. I can't find my plunger. I know it did break, and so I made a makeshift. I found something that would fit just right, and I put this here to stop it from going all the way down and getting plastic into the product. Hey, it works. We have to be inventive, right? That's what those farmers do. We invent things. So always use, when I cook, always use baby carrots because they're sweeter and much more delicious than the long, big fat carrots. Just don't have the flavor and the moisture that these little beauties do. So we always use baby carrots. If all you have is, wait a minute, trouble in paradise. Now it was working on the test earlier. Not working now. All right, just give me a quick minute to find out what's wrong with this machine. I did this earlier and it worked perfect. All right, we're good to go. No, it doesn't work. Doesn't sound good. I did say it was 40 years old. Not as old as I am. Yeah. Ta-da. Notice how carefully I took a rag and I just pushed on there to get that baby to stop. Take out the nut, the blade, and I do believe my 40-year-old mixer is almost needs to be buried. So as I told you, with that nice piece of paper, look at this, we can just take and all that just comes right out. Makes cleaning so much easier. That's how that's done. Okay, the old Acme. You can still buy parts for Acme. So I think I'm gonna have to investigate the parts of Acme's here. So the recipe called for, on carrot juice, 2 cups. But generally that was a 2-pound bag of baby carrots, and generally that will get you 2 cups, which is half a quart. Now this is actually a little short, but I'd rather be a little short than over because it'll just make the pie a little firmer. So we're gonna go with the, oh, that's quite a bit short. Well, we're gonna look at the mix when it gets done, and we'll make that decision. So we'll put this back away out of. What? What? Oh, I'm not supposed to be walking. Okay. Hey, this worked really good. I'm impressed. Now we're going to take, now that we've done the hardest part, which was making that juice, is we're going to take all the ingredients, put it in a blender, blend it up really well. I'm going to use a high power blender. It's not the name brand you're used to, but it works. So I need the blender container right there with the lid. And then we're going to throw everything in the blender. We'll talk about the ingredients a little bit. So, a little almond flour left in there. This is the container we also use to make the almond flour, but it's not going to hurt anything, so we're just going to keep going. So we're going to put 6 ounces of cashews. These are whole, raw cashews. We're going to put in 8 ounces of coconut meat. This came in a bag, clean and ready to go. If you can't find it in your local frozen department, look in the local Oriental markets. Good place to find some of these more unusual ingredients. 8 ounces. I cut it up into little pieces so it's not so hard on the blender. 2 cups of carrot juice. We're probably half a cup short there, but we're going to go with it. 6 ounces of coconut butter, again, Nutiva, 100% coconut, all ground up. This is the secret ingredient here. I betcha. Makes it really, really good. One thing you're probably all out there waiting, going, well, when's she going to put the pumpkin in? How do you make raw pumpkin? Well, to be honest with you, there's no pumpkin in it, but what it is in it is all the pumpkin spices. And it's going to look like pumpkin. It's going to taste like pumpkin. 4 dates. Now, again, I said earlier we use medjool dates, 4 of them. This is a medjool date, and it has, sometimes it'll have a little hard part on the end where it came off the tree. Take that off because the blenders usually don't chop it up very good. And then you just rip it in half, and there's a seed in the middle. Take the seed out. I've already done these 3. Put those in there. So that's 4 dates. Half an ounce of vanilla. Half an ounce of vanilla. A tablespoon of cinnamon. Fresh cinnamon. 12 grams of fresh ground ginger. Now we do take the root of ginger and we rub it on the grater. See, it's only, I'd say that's about a scant tablespoon. And that's fresh ginger root. Fresh makes all the difference in the world in the flavor of what you're cooking. And 1.5 grams of ground nutmeg. Nutmeg, this is a nutmeg. It's a nut off of a tree, and I can't pronounce the name of the tree, but it's very flavorful and aromatic. So we have 1.5 grams. So how I ground that too, I have this little gadget, which I noticed it didn't have a name on it. I'm not sure where it came from, but you open it. Oh, there's one in here already. that we use. You put your clove in there, and there's like a grinder, and you in there, and this shuts. It's got a little rubber edge on it to keep the product in and the grounds in, and then you turn it, the handle, and the grinds come out this way. And you can grind anything in here. You could grind peppercorns or just whatever you're up to grinding. So, and we also have some fresh powdered cloves. This is a clove bud. A clove bud is actually the flower bud off of a tree from Indonesia. Big fancy name I couldn't remember for the video, but so we're going to put the clove and the nutmeg in. Put that off to the side. 4 grams of salt. Looks like about a scant teaspoon of salt. And you know what? That's everything. All we do is put a lid on it. We're going to blend it. We're going to stir it down a couple of times, make sure it's blended really well, and simply pour it into the crust. And we're going to freeze it for 2 hours, and then we'll come back and show you how we cut it. I do. It won't work? Look at there. Come on, yo. Jeez. We've got some old equipment around here. When we buy new equipment, you'll know things are happening at Slow Foods Kitchen. I gotta stir this up a little bit. This blender is a couple of years old. Old and tired. Younger than me, but more tighter than me. Okay, let's see if we can get this to grind up. I need to get more sleep. I left out the maple syrup. I'm going, there needs to be more liquid in here. I always have to double check my list. 1/4 cup, excuse me, no, it's 1/2 cup. And always double check your ingredients. This is a 1/4 cup, so I'm gonna do it twice. Yummy maple syrup. 1/4 plus 1/4. Okay, kids, do the math. What's that equal? Don't tell them, Mom. Make them guess on their own. Okay. Almost did that bottle in. Like a good bottle of whiskey. Might as well empty the whole thing. There we go. Now we'll stir that up a little bit so the liquid can get down in there. And this is gonna be much more happier about blending. It was too thick. I knew something was wrong. When you get that feeling that something's not right, something's not right. There we go. Okay. I'm a messy cook, if you haven't noticed. Okay. You know, I'm laughing because you have to get to know your equipment. This came from a discount store a few years ago, and the motor turns backwards, you know, opposite for most American-made products. So while I'm stirring, I had to remember that. I had to stir it backwards. If you had an Oster blender, you'd be going this way. Life can be challenging, but we can get through it and move on, right? Look at that. Yeah, this blender, this blender's being a challenge there. You know, I'm not going to add, worry about the fact that I was short on carrot juice because this has got a really nice thickness and I like the pie to come out as thick as I can get it. So I might make a note of that on the recipe. Got that carrot juice back. So we're ready. This looks like it's all nice and smooth. Really smooth. Yeah. I'm gonna give it like, every time I turn it off, it bubbles up. And then when I start it, don't do this at home, which you know what you're doing, but because I'm doing it really careful with the lid off, because if you just let it go as full blast, you're gonna have pie stuff in your hair. Yep. Okay, Santa, bring me a new blender for Christmas. Let's get that crust out of here without getting the microphone messed up. The crust, well, it's nice. So this is it. This is the end of the recipe. Take your blended pie filling, put it in the pie pan, put it in the freezer for 2 hours. And then we're going to come back and we're going to show you how we cut it. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. This is what we're having for pumpkin pie tomorrow. There we go. Now we're just gonna shake, rattle, and roll here a little bit. Like that. I do like to kind of put a consistent design in the top because, you know, it will show up on that way when you take it out of the freezer. So if you leave it messy, it'll look messy. There, at least it's consistently off to the freezer. Thanks for coming back to see how this pumpkin tart came out. So we put it in the freezer and we chilled it for 2 hours while we were busy doing our personal prep for Thanksgiving dinner. So 2 hours wasn't quite enough to make it really hard. If it was really hard, then you would dunk your knife into some hot water to warm it up so that it would cut it easier. But today, I believe it's just right. See how nicely that, that lifted out of the pan nicely because I did run my knife along these two sides to loosen it from the pan and it came right out. So this is our tart. So this is how I like to cut my tart in a square. First, I'm going to just score an X each way. And then I'm going to score a plus sign this way and this way. And then I'm going to take each quarter and cut each triangle in half. Ooh, just like that. Now that I got my scores, I'm just going to go ahead and slice all the way down. And then let's turn it, slice this way, all the way. I can feel I went through the crust. I'm going to keep my knife clean. It helps. Now that I've cut a quarter, you could actually, look at there, you could separate a quarter, you could separate 4 slices and you could freeze them that way and cut them later now that they're scored. So now I'm just going to cut each quarter into 4 pieces, 4 triangles. Ooh. Wow, that one flipped out in the air, didn't it? That one's messy. Let's get a pretty one. Pretty one for the camera. I know they look small, but they, you know, they're really kind of rich and satisfying. They really don't need to be bigger. And we top ours with a vegan, cashew-based and coconut-based, we call it vanilla cream. And it's really yummy. And I had one already prepared. So go down below and click on the link for the recipes and enjoy yourself a very healthy raw pumpkin tart. Have a great day and a wonderful holiday.